Welcome to the dark side.
Greetings, I am Lord Bruticus, and this is Dark Side Chat number 9. My guest this time is named Carson Smith, and he hails from Canada. Although he was not available for a telephone interview, he did, however, answer via email questions that I had sent him about his collection. So now, here is the collection of Carson Smith in a simulated telephone interview with me. I will be speaking for Carson Smith, reading his answers.
Well, hello there, Carson, or should I say Darth Malapersona. You have quite a massive collection indeed. How long have you been collecting vintage Star Wars figures and other memorabilia?
I have been collecting Star Wars for about 9 years now. I have always been a fan, and growing up, Star Wars were my all-time favorite toys. What I had growing up I sold, minus a few pieces. I'm very sorry for selling that. So back in 1997 and 1998, I decided that it would be cool to start collecting again. So I bought my first piece, a Power of the Force Darth Vader, and that started my collection.
What is it that has motivated you to want to collect vintage toys such as these?
When the news came out of the re-release of the original Star Wars movies, I started remembering how cool it was owning all the collectibles I had as a kid. I never stopped being a Star Wars fan, and I thought that maybe I would like to be a serious collector. And I was right. I do like the newer Hasbro collections, with the Saga being my favorite in the new series. But what's the point to collect Star Wars and not have the vintage stuff? So I am motivated to get all the pieces of the vintage as possible. I'm only 34 years old, so hopefully I will have many, many more years of collecting and getting the pieces I need to complete my collection.
Now, when you emailed me these pictures, you said that these pictures only comprise about 50% of your overall collection, and that you also have recent collectibles as well. What is it about collecting, specifically the older collectibles, that makes it fun?
In my opinion, nothing can compare to the original Kenner toys. Like everyone in their 30s, the vintage toys are what we grew up playing with. Out of all my collection, the vintage part of my collection is what I am proud of most. There's something that's addictive about getting a new piece to add to what I have. More so if it's vintage. That makes me want to keep buying. My collection is very large, like you mentioned. I sent you pictures of about 50% of my total collection. I would like to point out that I consider myself lucky because my wife is not a Star Wars fan. But she puts up with my obsession, and I am so grateful for her patience and understanding. Right now, all my collection is packed up and stored. I have a few pieces out on display, but I have so much I have to store my collection until we find a bigger place, and I can have my own room, which I am really looking forward to. Also, I have a daughter that is 7, and I love sharing my love for Star Wars with her, and she's a fan too, so I am very proud of that.
I can see that you have a number of playsets from the original trilogy, such as Endor and Hoth, and I was wondering, do you have a favorite? Or is there a playset in your collection that represents a favorite part of a particular movie?
That's a tough question, but if I had to pick a favorite, I'd have to say my AT-AT, my Scout Walker, my 1978 TIE Fighter, my Slave One, and my Millennium Falcons. I have 2 of them, vintage, both from Return of the Jedi. One is a Canadian version, and the other is American. The only difference between them both are found in the packages. The American one has a drawing on the back, and the Canadian version has the same picture as the front, but the back is in French. I am a Galactic Empire fan, to be honest, and there's something about the villain part of Star Wars that takes me in more.
Well, if there was one thing you could ask or say to George Lucas, what would that be?
I would have to say thank you, and something that's been on my mind since I saw Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Did Palpatine create Anakin? The reason why I ask this is because when Anakin was asking about the dark side of the Force to save Padme, Palpatine was telling him the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise and how he could manipulate the midichlorians to create life. Darth Plagueis taught his apprentice everything before his apprentice killed him. We all know that Palpatine was this apprentice he spoke about in the story, and I always wondered if Palpatine manipulated the midichlorians to create Anakin. Just a question I would like to know.
The Brutal One would like to know the answer to this as well. Did Palpatine manipulate the midichlorians that created Anakin Skywalker? If you know the answer to this question, or at least if you think you do, please feel free to leave your answer or your thoughts in the comments section of this video. Carson Smith also had this to say: "I would like to add that I really enjoy your show. I am sorry that we could not do this interview over the phone. Keep up the awesome job you're doing, and I always look forward to watching a new episode." Why, thank you, Carson Smith. It was a joy interviewing you and simulating a telephone interview with you, and thank you for sharing your immense Star Wars collection with the rest of the Star Wars geek world. And by the way, this is not a Darth Bruticus t-shirt, but I really like the DB letters, of course. This is a Dave & Buster's t-shirt, and Dave & Buster's is sort of like a Chuck E. Cheese for adults. Instead, it has the video games and prizes you can win, but instead of pizza, it has a restaurant and a bar. Yeah! Now, we all know that Jedi use these round devices called Seeker remotes, or Jedi training remotes, to learn how to wield a lightsaber. Now, I managed to actually get my hands on one of these, but, well, these are Jedi devices, and see for yourself how these things react to a Sith. Until next time, may the dark side be with you always.
Give yourself to the dark side.